Well, hello again, and welcome to round two of the 2024 Route 66 Sim Championship. I'm Nadine. Joining me today will be Eli Carter for what is the second round of the championship here in Russellton, Georgia. Less than an hour northeast of downtown Atlanta to the virtual Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. The 2.5-mile, 12-corner track is best known for holding SCCA events, AMA bike racing, and of course one of the crown jewels on the IMSA WeatherTech calendar, the Motul Petit Le Mans. Built in 1970, one of America's most beloved road courses, is known for its high speed and tight wheel-to-wheel racing and a level of unpredictability, like we saw in 2015 when Porsche won outright with Patrick Pilet, Richard Lees, and Nick Tandy when they brought their GTLM Porsche 911 RSR to victory lane. We're looking forward to the action, and although rain might not be on iRacing just yet, the unpredictability will still be there. Eli Carter will be joining me shortly as you get a look at what is one of the most gorgeous American road courses on any calendar that has the privilege of going here. As a lot of the drivers making their way out for the 20-minute open qualifying session. Here is catching a couple drivers coming down through the final corner. That's turn 12 onto the front straight. You see a lot of incidents there during when IMSA has their Motul Petit Le Mans, the 10-hour at the end of the season. Through that final corner, it gets really tight really quickly, and you have to have the trust of the other driver that you are going to get through there side by side as one driver, Austin Fairfield. It's one of the MPG Motorsports drivers who had a bit of a rough time in turn 2. It's turn 3, blind apex, really hard to get right as he'll be making his way out of the S's and onto the 5-6 short chute there. But a really difficult track to get right is Road Atlanta, some high curbs, and add that to a really nimble, lightweight FIA Dallara Formula 3 car that will be running tonight. It's a challenge that these drivers are going to have to face for. Like we said, the 20-minute qualifying that we're in at the moment, the 12-lap pre-final, and then the 20-lap final to end off the night. Currently, though, just a few minutes into qualifying, no one setting a benchmark right now. As we saw at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round 1, it was really hard to get those tires up to temp and get them into a working window. Jordan Bachmeier, though, going purple. As it stands, it's a 15.1 for Jordan Bachmeier with Kazir and Petticord right behind. As it stands, still a long time to go in this 20-minute qualifier to determine where you will be for the pre-final. And of course, just like in the karting world, we will be awarding points to the top 5 finishers in this qualifying session. And at the moment, Bachmeier, Kazir, Adam Kreppen now up into 3rd, Timothy Carroll and Ryan Dow will be receiving points, but Reed Sweeney, one of the drivers who was so quick at Indianapolis, is on provisional pole as things stand for him. Sweeney on that 509 Kelly Racing Castrol Formula 3 car, 114.7 for him. More drivers making their way out onto track. Believe this will be Adam Kreppen, if I'm not mistaken, making his way out. Kate Yeager, who's making his way through the S's for the first time. As a little bit of technical difficulties here, so bear with us on that, but we'll get those sorted out for you. A fair few drivers here for the second round. I believe about 30 have joined us for tonight. So glad to see the participation up. Jordan Bachmeier back on top. It's a 14.2 for him. In the practice session we had before this, he was the only driver to make it into the 13s. He had a 1-minute 13.909. We'll have to see if we can get into that 13-second time bracket in this early stages, we'll say, of qualifying. Not even 5 minutes in. Still have 15 minutes left to go. And as things stand, Bachmeier, Sweeney, Kreppen, Carroll, and Doe. Not a ton of change up top. In 6th, Quentin McPherson. Also in there, Carson Sauter, Joey Kazir, Jeremy Moe, Pierce Sondrup. Some drivers who found that's Yeager going off into the Dandelions there in turn 1, just like we saw with the 2 GTP championship battle cars in Motul Petit Le Mans last year. A bit of an off there, but Jordan Bachmeier, see him on your screen. The 915 is on pole at a 1:14.091. He is less than a tenth of a second away from breaking into that 1 minute 13 time second bracket. So we're on board with him through the S's that make this track so famous. Try to hold your own over those curbs on the exit of turn 5. It can really upset the car, and we'll be seeing that surely a lot tonight. Into the double rights that are harder than they look. Be able to get that car to the apex of 7 is going to be so crucial, as you see down this long back straight that has turns 8 and 9 in it, and then going into the chicane shortly of 10A and 10B. It's going to be one of those places where you have to be full commitment to be able to extract the maximum amount of lap time at this track and in this car combo. You see there into 10A through 10B. It goes uphill a little bit, so you can kind of hold your momentum and put the right foot down a little bit more than most chicanes on the calendar. But Bachmeier across the line again is more drivers starting to really struggle with the Formula 3 at this undulating track. Some drivers going off, but Jordan Bachmeier not one of them. 14.082. He resets that benchmark, still unable to get into the 113s, but with about 1/10 of a second gap as it stands to Reed Sweeney. Bachmeier comfortably out in front for the time being, but a very tight front few cars as things stand, nearing that halfway mark in qualifying. Stand as Bachmeier goes for a spin. It's not going to help the tire temperatures for his Formula 3 car. Speaking of which, a few changes on the server side of things for this round. The overall temperature being dropped, more cloud cover for this time around. That should allow drivers to be able to push their tires and themselves a bit more than we saw at Indianapolis, where it had a bit of a higher track temperature in our first round. Currently, air temp 73 degrees, track temp 118, so it is starting to get up there as iRacing, the clouds do have a bit of an effect on track temp, so with it being a slightly more clear now than it was in practice, that track temp beginning to rise up, and with more drivers putting more laps down and more rubber down, that track is going to heat up with the dynamic system that iRacing has on their side of things. Looking at one driver, I believe that's Reed Sweeney going down into the S's. It is. We have 2 drivers in the lobby tonight. Sweeney's going to go hard into the wall in turn 5. That's not what he wanted. I think that was Joey Kazir that he almost got into. But 2 drivers tonight are running the livery that Reed Sweeney has on. Again, that Kelly Racing Castrol livery. So if I mix those 2 up throughout the broadcast, I do apologize for that. But that would be Adam Kreppen you see on screen at the moment, the champion in 2023, for the KA 100 Master category at Route 66. Him swapping the Gillard OTK for some Formula 3 material. And Kreppen currently finds himself 3rd overall, about 2/10 or so behind Jordan Bachmeier. And Kreppen looking at the moment at a 2nd row start as he makes his way into the 10A, 10B chicane. It's really easy to overdo it through here. It's really easy to underdo it through that chicane. It's very tricky with how wide it is and how quick it is. It's very high risk, high reward. Same with most of the corners at this track, as we're about to hit that 10-minute mark, about halfway to go in the very prolongated qualifying session, 20 minutes. So you can see him going through the S's once again. Bit of a new rule procedure for this race in particular throughout this section. Drivers being asked to keep pushing after their flying lap if they want to slow down, as to not have slow cars in that S's section. You've seen it in the Petit Le Mans, where the GTPs or LMP2s catch up to the GT3 machinery, and it just makes all sorts of harder. And the so drivers being asked not to slow down in that section for qualifying. Still watching Adam Kreppen as things stand down the back straight. A bit of a headwind tonight going down the back straight, so having a draft like Kreppen did sure will help. Luke Powers, one of the drivers who wasn't able to make it in the first round. He has that Williams Racing livery on, the number 5 car. Will be joining us tonight. He's been quick on the Stars Championship E-Series side of things. We'll have to see if he's able to hold that pace as he parks up, having a bit of difficulties on his end, but look to one of the MPG Motorsports drivers. That's Chase Jones, the 954. Wasn't too quick in practice, was Chase Jones. To be fair, it's a bit of a hard circuit to master, and Chase doing the best that he can. He's sitting at a 1:15.5, currently P18, but as you saw at the Super Nationals in Vegas last year, the racecraft that Chase Jones possesses will easily be able to make his way up the field if he doesn't have that much of a good qualifying effort. Bit of a slide there at the apex of turn 7. That's definitely not what you're going to want as you head down the back straight and through turns 8 and 9. Looking at the track map, you start to wonder if those are really turns, but the American way of naming corners per se. Down into the braking zone for the chicane, like we talked about so much with Indianapolis. Very hard to keep the car under you, as one driver doing their best tow-mater impression into the pit lane. Chase Jones going to come across the line. Will he improve on that? He does improve, but not enough to make his way up the leaderboard, as not a whole lot of change at the moment. Bachmeyer on top, Reed Sweeney, Adam Kreppen, Timothy Carroll, Nagisa Yoshikawa, your top 5. And there is Yoshikawa. Had a pretty decent run of things. There's a lot of chaos there out of turn 5. Max Kraus, one of the drivers who was getting involved in that purple and orange Formula 3 car, was one of the drivers involved there. Not too sure what happened there, but Yoshikawa in 5th at the moment. He's 4/10ths back from Jordan Bachmeyer's 1:14.0, and I believe we have Eli Carter, who will be co-hosting with me for the night here with us. Eli, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well tonight. How about you?
Doing good. Looking forward to it. Eli, we both done a fair amount of laps at the Formula 3 cars. We're riding on board with Sweeney as he goes under the Motul Bridge. Carson Sauter. See, Carson's the other one with the Kelly Racing Castro livery tonight, so it's going to be a bit of a headache trying to differentiate these two. But Eli, like I was saying, we have put in a fair amount of laps in the Formula 3 at this track. Bit of a lockup there for Sauter. What are going to be the challenges? Because we knew at Indy it was just how slick and how unabrasive the surface was there. Here, a very undulating track with a car that you can really move around underneath you. What do you think are going to be the key challenges today?
Same as always with this car, don't overheat the tires, but at this track it's a lot harder because you got to keep momentum up. As Carson just goes through turn 1 there, you can't lose momentum, but you can't oversend it. It's a very fine edge you have to ride, because if you go too far, you're going to end up on that exit curve, which, as we've seen from IMSA races, even over the last year, if you go right over that curve, you're going to go straight out of that wall. But if you don't carry enough speed, you're sitting duck until up into a good passing zone at turn 2 there.
Curves are pretty killer here, right? Most of the apex curves you don't really want to hit too much. Your hand's kind of forced in turn 3, and gonna look at some keys to the race here really quickly after getting off of that topic. traffic management, just like we saw at Motul Petit Le Mans in all those years, is going to be absolutely crucial. We did see some lap traffic last time out at Indy, so being able to work your way through the field is going to be so important. And if you start further back, if you don't have that pre-final or the qualifying you would have wanted, being able to manage the cars in front of you and know when to get in front is going to be key. Eli, you were just saying this. Don't overheat your tires. Eli Warren talked about it so much, who unfortunately isn't with us tonight. He will be racing at the Texas Sprint Racing Series at NOLA Motorsports Park this weekend, so he has to sit this one out. Lucky for him, you get one drop in points, so it's not going to hurt him too much with how dominant he was at Indy. But Eli, like we were saying, 20 laps on these rear tires. Formula 3 cars, especially with how iRacing runs them, we're kind of running on the longer side of things here. It's in the middle of a sprint and a full-out race for what these cars are made for. So if you're in the driver's seat for this race, are you pushing hard to get away from the pack and make your way up the field earlier on in the race? You're going to hold back a little bit and save that tire for the end.
I think since it's a long straightaway, you can almost hold back. You can definitely just draft and get around a good amount of people, and then play it kind of safe through those last couple chicanes. But I think for the most part, if you're just smart and pretty easy and get a good exit out of turn 7, you'll be able to catch people down that straightaway and make a good pass or two.
Yeah, absolutely is. Not a lot of change at the leaderboard at the moment. Austin Fairfield moving down to 7th, Carson Sauter in 6th. Pierce Sandra did not have a very good weekend at Indianapolis. Last time we ran, more drivers starting to feel the pressure of this Road Atlanta circuit, so tight and technical, hard to get right. Like we were saying, Eli, Pierce Sandra didn't really have a good run at Indy last time out, was in the middle of a couple of melees. He's currently running 8th right now. We've both raced with him at Stockholm Karting Center at Minnesota. His friend Jordan Bachmeyer, who also races in Minnesota, P1 at the moment. If those two find each other on track, you think they can work together, maybe draft away from the field a little bit?
Oh yeah, especially here with that, like I was saying, that long straightaway, draft is going to be key. So I think if you can find a good partner, there's someone you can trust to keep it steady through all the turns, but then have a good exit there and just kind of carry you down the straightaway, that'll be very helpful. Probably Jeremy Moe too. Jeremy Moe's also from Stockholm in Minnesota. He's a really fun guy to hang out with, so definitely he'll be there to help.
Yeah, not to toot our own horn a little bit, but a lot of Minnesota representation. We're happy to see that. Joey Kazier, we're watching him on screen. He had a race last time out that I think he could be happy with in terms of points, but definitely there was more for that host. There was one car doing cartwheels out of turn 11 as Kazier went past. Joey Kazier unable to improve his lap time. We're going to brush that aside. The Hotes driver development driver is going to have more traffic as that is Adam Kreppen, who's spinning in front of him, ruining Kazier's lap. That's unfortunate for him, but Eli, if you jog your mind back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Kazier was kind of in that top 5 battle. He currently sits 11th at the moment, 7/10 off. I personally think he can still be in there, fight for that top 5, obviously fight for the top 10, but as we've seen in racing in the sim world and in the real world, with how short and quick this track is, all the lap times are so close together, and it just compacts the entire field.
Yeah, it definitely brings everyone together, and it won't be too hard to pass, but at the same time, just how fast this track is, it will be interesting to see where you make your moves. Going through turn 1, I was talking with some friends. It'd be a good place to pass, but if you can't get it done and they hang it on the outside, you're both going to be screwed going up towards turn 2 and 3. Those S's, though, you do have to kind of stay single file. But through the back part of the track, that'll definitely be a place to make it going through turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, we saw it with Felipe Albuquerque and Pipo Durrani. For those who watched Petit Le Mans last year, you can see what happens when it goes wrong going side by side through turn 1 and the driver on the outside is just hard into the wall. So like we were saying earlier on, you just have to have the respect of the driver that you're going up against in that moment to know that, you know, you're not going to push me off, but it also takes two, a little bit of give and take. Should I be putting my nose on the outside here when I know that turn 3 is also a right-hander, and it's going to be kind of hard for me to make that move, just back out of it. Survive to fight another day. This kind of mentality that I think a lot of drivers will have to be taking here. Timothy Carroll on screen. He was in that battle for about 7th or so, just outside the top 5, but well within the top 10 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Carroll currently finds himself 4th, and with a second row starting position as the clock strikes 20 minutes. Checkered flag is out. Flying laps will count. Excuse me, that was the end of the session completely. Jordan Bachmeyer on pole. That will be, I believe, 20 points for him. Reed Sweeney, Adam Kreppen, Timothy Carroll, and Nagisa Yoshikawa, your top 5. Eli, 12 laps of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta to come. What's your strategy here?
My strategy is definitely try to make passes here in the early part. Like we said, tires will be cold, but if you can get them up to temp pretty fast, you make moves kind of agile, get around people. And like you said, at the beginning of the race, everyone's going to be a little bit more cautious. They know that there's some points on the line, but they also know that if they hurt themselves now, the main event won't go well. So I think definitely make some moves early, but definitely make them calculated. If you know you can pass someone on that straightaway, don't send it going up into turn 5.
Yeah, and there's admittedly not a ton of great passing opportunities here. Of course, the chicane, great, but looking at the front row, Jordan Bachmeyer, Reed Sweeney will be leading the field to the green. We have a 1 lap to form the field behind the Porsche 911 safety car, but Timothy Carroll and Adam Kreppen on the second row. Those two were kind of dark horses at IMS. You'll have to think that they're going to want some points brought back this time around. Nagisa Yoshikawa and Carson Sauter will make up row 3, as Sauter and Sweeney are very close to each other on track with the same paint scheme. So again, apologize for when I inevitably messed those guys up. Austin Fairfield, the MPG Motorsports driver, and I believe the K100 Masters champion at Whiteland Raceway Park last season, will have Pierce Sondrup for company on their row. Moving back, Danny Cochran, a name that we've seen a lot in the past couple of years at Route 66. We'll have Jacob Petticord, who we will be seeing a new member of the Route 66 family hopefully this season. Moving further back, Ryan Dow, Joey Kazir, Eli not having the best of runs in qualifying. Max Kraus, Quentin McPherson with that with the RPG liveried cars. Some cars are slow to get away. Timothy Carroll, one of them. Oh, that is contact for drivers further back. I think that was Nathan Trapp who might have gotten front wing damage, who's alongside Luke Powers on their row. Moving further back on the grid behind Trapp and Powers have Lane Gibbs, one of the other MPG Motorsports drivers this race. Jeremy Moe runs at Stockholm Karting Center, has some plans to run 206 Senior with us this year. Chase Jones, Cade Yeager, 2 names we've seen all so much in Route 66 competition line up together. Then Daniel Dragunov and Shane Reddy, 2 cadet and junior drivers. Dragunov doing very, very well in the Cup Karts North America side of things. Shane Reddy was one of the dark horses last year. Elias Baker and Jack Fieber behind them, as more pileups out of turn 5. I don't know what that's about, but hopefully everyone has their front wing clean after that. Eli, I'm going to take a look back and see if anyone has front wing damage. You talked about the strategy for lap 1. You want to elaborate a little bit, maybe what's going through your mind as you're getting ready to take on a difficult track, a difficult car against some of the most competitive drivers in the karting scene?
Yes, definitely. Getting a good exit out of that final turn, because as we know, some of these guys will be starting in that turn, others will be starting at the top of the hill. You just want to make sure you keep it nice and easy through there. If you got a car in your outside or inside, give them room. Don't get run off the track, or don't run yourself off the track. Going down towards turn 1, same thing. Don't want to go too wide in that curve, because this car will just bottom out and you're going straight. But, you can't take it too easy. You might lose a couple spots, and as we know, all those spots are important. It'll be a good thing
Yeah.
here, though, on this formation lap, just to make sure you got heat in your tires, as we know that'll be a big thing. But don't overheat them, because you will definitely screw yourself in the long run if you overheat them fast.
Yeah, as the front row starting to slow things down. Pace car is pulling off shortly. I can confirm Nathan Trapp, the Braun GP livery car, has damage on his front wing, and he's going to struggle throughout this 12-lap pre-finals. They crest the hill, one of the more iconic shots at Road Atlanta. Leader goes, Jordan Bachmeyer's away, and we are green here for round 2 of the Sim Championship. The pre-final is underway. Turn 1 in the S's. This is going to get interesting. I think there's a couple cars around already on the start line, but Bachmeyer, cold tires for him. He's got Sweeney behind, who is so fast at IMS. He's going to have to be careful and really make this count. These first couple opening laps, making his way through the S's now out of turn 5. Be very careful on this exit curb. Jacob Petticord around the white Red Bull livery. More drivers around going left, right, and center, as Joey Kazier is one of them, the Hotes driver development driver, one of the MPG drivers having to take evasive action, and that is the stricken car that we just saw of Joey Kazier in the pit lane. He's going to have to start last in the feature, but it's 20 laps to get it done. And as they go down the back straight, a 9-mile-an-hour headwind is faced with Jordan Bachmeyer. That's only going to help Reed Sweeney as they make their way into the chicane. Eli, not a ton of carnage up front, but in that mid-pack, everyone was going side by side as a battle 3 wide further back in the pack, just outside of our camera shot, that Luke Powers and Quentin McPherson get themselves out of. Same with Chase Jones. How about that for a lineup in terms of Route 66 drivers? But Eli, like we said, Jordan Bachmeyer, a really good start to this race.
Yeah, very good there. Got a good jump there. Definitely just went right away. Tried to get as much of a gap as he can. Reed Sweeney is definitely staying on him. He knows that that's the only chance he's going to get, especially with that draft on that long straightaway on the back there. Overall, pretty clean start. He got some wrecks here and there, but that's iRacing, and that's definitely Road Atlanta with all the bumps and crests over this track.
It's definitely not a very smooth track either. It's not going to be Sebring levels, and thankfully we're not going there this season with the Formula 3 car. It was one of the tracks that was available to vote on, but ultimately it was Road Atlanta that was selected by the drivers, and we're heading to the Daytona Road Course for round 3, so that should be an interesting one to say the least. But out in front, Eli, it's still Jordan Bachmeyer, Reed Sweeney behind in third. Timothy Carroll had a fairly good start. Nagisa Yoshikawa, is right on the back end of him. And Adam Kreppen also there, as that's kind of a battle pack for third at the moment, containing of 3 cars. But Jordan Bachmeyer doing what Eli Warren did in the first round, starting to check out a little bit. It's a 1-second gap between him and Sweeney.
Yeah, he's definitely being very impressive right now. Reminds us of Eli Warren, like you said. But Reed Sweeney, he's staying pretty good there. Now up to about a second, maybe a little bit less here and there, but overall I think Jordan definitely will probably have the long race distance. I was talking to him kind of earlier, and he did say that he was practicing a lot more, just trying to make sure that he could maintain his speed for the entire run.
On board with Yoshikawa, now one of the drivers who, like we said earlier on in the show, showed some potential in that top 10 fight at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta starting to suit his needs a little bit more. 2 very different tracks to start off this Sim Championship season, Eli's. We have a battle for 4th. Adam Kreppen going to the outside of Yoshikawa. They're going to be side by side into the chicane. Kreppen's going to have the inside line, the preferred line. Yoshikawa is going to let him have it. Put Adam Kreppen up into 4th for the 437 driver, as he's going to crest over the hill and come across the line to be in 4th. Timothy Carroll did not have the best of laps last time by, as Adam Kreppen is slowly starting to creep in. They didn't lose too much time to Carroll in front with that battle. I think Yoshikawa, Eli, was very smart to let Adam take a little bit more of the right-hand side of the track, open up that corner so they don't lose Timothy Carroll in front, because they could have easily let him walk into the distance there.
Yeah, definitely smart by him just to let him go, make sure that they don't lose too much time. But also just, he might be faster too. Maybe you can learn a thing or two, but maybe you can let him go battle. Maybe bring him back. definitely overall just the smarter move there instead of trying to battle and lose way more time than needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jordan Bachmeier already has a driver a couple seconds up the road. That's Nathan Trapp, who pitted for a front wing replacement after having some issues on the opening lap. I don't think Bachmeier is going to have to get any blue flags in front of him for lap cars, but I think he'll have fairly clean air for the rest of the race. Looking on screen to the battle, this is between Ryan Dow and Danny Cochran, who have the exact same livery. It's a bit of a Mercedes-inspired black and teal, Petronas teal, on them, as they are right next to each other at the moment. Cochran in 8th, Doe in 7th. Luke Powers not too far away behind them in that Williams Racing livery. Luke was one of the drivers, at least I thought, would be up there a bit more, but you know, Eli, it's only the pre-final. If you have a level head on for this race, get yourself a good starting position, because of course where you finish the pre-final is where you start the final. So with all the carnage that happened in the opening stanza of this race, you have to imagine that's going to happen again within the final. So Luke Powers in 9th, theoretically not a great spot. He's a couple tenths off in qualifying, but he might be there at the end.
Indeed, he looks to be doing pretty good right now. Maybe not the fastest, but overall pretty consistent. As you can see now, Reed Sweeney passed Jordan Bachmeier, actually got around him here. What if Jordan made another mistake like he did back in the Indy race? But yeah, Reed Sweeney now in the lead here.
And maybe we can see a replay of that later on. You have to think that was probably something in the S's as replaying the battle for the lead. Now Sweeney up the inside of Bachmeier in the chicane, but looking back on it, at least on my side of things, it was a blown turn 5 for Bachmeier, something every single person who's raced Road Atlanta has done. And if you say you haven't, you're lying to yourself. Going over the curbs into the gravel trap and really just compromising himself through there. As you can see, Sweeney having Bachmeier right behind him after that battle, and those two are surely going to stay close together on each other for the rest of the race. It was that section there that Bachmeier went off. You can actually see some of the dust that came off of Bachmeier's car that he displaced a little bit ago, but you have to think, Eli, Sweeney was the one doing the pushing last race and the catching on Bachmeier and Warren, as they're very close, so we'll have to keep an eye if Bachmeier makes a move. But mentally, when you're in the car, what's the difference that you have to make when you're the chaser and the chased?
The chaser, you definitely just kind of have that full push mode. You might have a little bit of a heavy right foot there, as Reed Sweeney just got a little bit loose going over the curbs down through the S's. But yeah, as the chaser, you have to have a level head, but you also need to know where you can push, where you can find that time again. You need to make sure here, though, you do have that long straightaway from the draft. So if you maybe get a good turn 7, you might just kind of have not an easy pass, but definitely a lot easier than trying to make a move going into turn 1. But overall, I think it'll probably just be better for Jordan here if he can learn maybe a little bit, or just get around and take off.
Elias Baker is Reed Sweeney's saving grace down the back straight. Baker is about to go a lap down in 22nd, but he's going to give Sweeney a draft. Jordan Bachmeier probably going to hold back on this time. Don't want to try and get past the leader and a lap car. Sweeney having to slam on the brakes, and you can see that from the gearbox camera, as Sweeney's going to get past. Bachmeier is going to get held up a little bit behind Elias Baker. Unfortunate for Bachmeier, and Sweeney so lucky not to clip his front wing there. I think all clean from what I'm seeing on his front wing. So no damage there for Sweeney as they cross the line for lap 8. But Eli, walk me through what you saw there as it got a little bit tight for the leaders in that lap car.
Yeah, Elias definitely didn't see him necessarily, or maybe he just didn't know to move over right there. So Reed Sweeney got lucky. He was able to kind of catch him through the first part of 10A there, so he was able to still get a good exit out of 10B. Jordan got the worst part, though. He had to carry wide on 10B, and that killed his run all the way down the straightaway.
Yeah, and of course, with him being a lap car and everything, look how much wheel spin Sweeney got there. That's not going to help his tires. We still got about 4 laps left in this pre-final. Bachmeier might be able to close into the back of them, but really that's just how racing goes here at Road Atlanta. What did we say at the top of the show of traffic management, knowing how to get past those lap cars? Is Timothy Carroll further back in the pack is having pressure put on him by Adam Kreppen, and Yoshikawa not too far behind, and Elias Baker now finds himself being lapped again by this battle for the provisional podium as things stand. Going to keep an eye on this. Eli, they're not going to catch him at a very good point. Baker dropping a tire on the outside. He's going to take the Felipe Albuquerque line out of turn 1. Yoshikawa is now going to have to deal with them. Yoshikawa gets past, but Timothy Carroll and Adam Kreppen gain a bit lucky not having to follow Baker down turns 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 now, just because the unpredictability of a lap car and the dirty air is Carroll all over the exit curve there in turn 5. You can see them barreling down into turn 6 as Kreppen wasn't able to capitalize so much on Timothy Carroll's mistake. Out of turn 7 they go. Carroll a little bit too eager on that right pedal for him, and that's going to be a battle into the chicane, isn't it, Eli?
It definitely will be. Any wheel spin in these cars, and you're going to be herding down that next straightaway. Adam Kreppen, he might be smart here. He might wait another lap, but we are coming to lap 10 here, so any move will definitely help him right now.
Yeah, and into the chicane they go. Kreppen just seems to take a bit more track, a bit more curve. He seems to be a bit more confident of where he places the car, and that's really how he drives in real life. He's just so clinical in where he places that kart and that car. Into turn 1, he thought about it for a second, but Kreppen, the elder statesman of the Route 66 Sprint Series, backs out of that, thinks, you know what, this probably isn't going to work. I'm in a good spot right now. That's an outside second row start for the final, and a fairly decent shot to try and win, as both of them a little bit too close for comfort, closing towards that gravel trap on the exit of 5. They are both front wing to rear wing as Adam Kreppen is smelling the gearbox oil on Timothy Carroll's Dallara Formula 3 car in front. Carroll did not get a good run, Eli. To the inside goes Kreppen, but if he does take this, it's going to be the outside of turns 10A and 10B. He's going to have to be late on the brakes, and Nagisa Yoshikawa on that purple and black Formula 3, you can just see outside a screen, is going to be loving this. Side by side on the brakes, they're equal going in. Carroll gets a little bit squirrely on the rear end, and Adam Kreppen around the outside of 10A gets the job done. That's him up into third. And out in front, it's still Reed Sweeney and Jordan Bachmeier, who just have a couple laps to go to finish off this pre-final. But here comes Carroll. Tries it on the inside, unable to get it done. He's going to do the same thing that Kreppen did last time. And Eli, look who's here. Yoshikawa joins the fight. The drivers in third, fourth, and fifth at the moment. So close on tracks. They're going to have to deal with some dirty air going into the S's. But Eli, with a few laps to go, where would you rather be in this pack? Do you want to be Kreppen leading? Do you want to have Carroll with cars on either side of you? Or do you want to be Yoshikawa, the one who's kind of holding back and waiting for them to battle?
I definitely want to be Carroll right now. He definitely has the most, I'd say, vision out of this. He has a good draft from behind. Now, he is given draft behind, but overall it'll be good. As right now we see Jordan Bachmeier going for the lead here as they go down towards the chicane. He's on the inside as they go towards 10A. Looks like Reed Sweeney backed off a little bit. Smart by him. Jordan Bachmeier in a little deep though. Reed's going to get a good exit. Now he's right back on the gearbox. He's going to look low as they go through turn 11 and 12. He's on the inside. Jordan's going to keep it high. Nice clean racing so far. As they go down turn 1, Jordan on the outside. Tries to get a nice line, but he has to back out of it.
White flag in the air this time by. Forgot to mention that because the battling was so good, but Sweeney out in front loses a bit of time as he misses the apex of turn 3, but really you do lose a little bit of time to the car in front of you with the dirty air. Bachmeier, though, doesn't believe in that at all. He closed up on Sweeney out of turn 5, about half the track to go once they get in between turn 6 and turn 7. This is all about your traction out of turn 7. How do you get the car in as Sweeney. Not a good entry for him, but neither for Bachmeier. It's going to have to be a dive on the inside of Sweeney for Jordan Bachmeier. We ride on board with him. Can he get it done? I think he's just outside of the range, but I could be proven wrong. Here come the afterburners on the 915. He might be able to do this. Sweeney's going to block to the inside. He comes back to the racing line. Knows Bachmeier's not going to do it, but he is right on his gearbox. But Bachmeier's going to lose a little bit. Your winner in the pre-final, Reed Sweeney, is going to come across the line. It's pole position for him in the final. Checkered flag from Barney. And Jordan Bachmeier coming in second. Further back, Timothy Carroll is going to hold off the charge, but Yoshikawa did get past Adam Kreppen on that final lap. That'll be your top 5. Ryan Doe, Danny Cochran are going to come across the line shortly for 6th and 7th. Luke Powers should finish 8th with Carson Sauter and Jeremy Moe coming inside the top 10. A very, very action-packed race for the pre-final, Eli, and to think we have another race, and it's going to be 8 laps longer. So hopefully we'll have even more battling and whatnot after that. We'll have to talk about that a bit more as we're going to take a quick break, I believe, for some commercials. But we see the unofficial results there as we saw Reed Sweeney, Bachmeier, Carroll, Yoshikawa, and Kreppen, your top 5, with Doe, Cochran, Luke Powers, Carson Sauter, and Jeremy Moe, your top 10. Just outside of the top 10, Jacob Petticord, Austin Fairfield, Jack Feber, Shane Reddy, Lane Gibbs, Cade Yeager, Chase Jones, Daniel Dragunov, rounding out your top 20 as we'll be getting into the 20-lap main event here. Eli, a lot of stories from that race. Let's start out at the front. With no Eli Warren here, the battle between Sweeney and Jordan Bachmeier has really kicked off.
Yeah, definitely. That was fun to watch. Jordan definitely probably just got a little bit throttle happy, like he did last time. But overall, good battle there. Definitely smart by Sweeney, though. Definitely. He got lucky, though. Jordan didn't get a good exit out of turn 7 on that last lap, so he didn't have a good advantage going down towards the chicane. But overall, it was a good, clean battle. It was fun to watch for sure. And also, Timothy Carroll, Adam Kreppen, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but Nagasaki Yoshikawa, they were having some fun, too. They were definitely sad that we missed a little bit of those passes, but it'll be fun to watch for sure.
So as we see the front row, bit of a story brewing. Adam Kreppen, Klein has manually disconnected. The driver who finished in the top 5 is going to have to race back into the session if he wants to fight for the final. But the grid is going. Kreppen is not going to be able to redeem his starting spot. That's going to be some drama. We're going to see a new driver inside the top 5. Further back, as we're looking at the grid, Pierce Sondrup and Austin Fairfield are going to see themselves on the same row again, as you can read off your favorite driver's name at the bottom of the screen. Eli, a bit of redemption for those drivers who were collected in the lap 1 chaos throughout the S's and whatnot. Everyone does now know a little bit of where they should be and how to handle these Formula 3 cars on the opening lap, but do you think we're going to see more of it or less of it? Like we said, they know now how to deal with that, but for those drivers who are starting in the back, like Nathan Trapp, who had that front wing issue at as they were rolling off the grid, Daniel Dragunov, Chase Jones, Pierce Sondrup, Quentin McPherson, all drivers who showed some serious pace in qualifying, just unable to get it done and having to be collected in each other's incidents there. They're going to be driving their way through the field. But Eli, front row, Sweeney and Bachmeier, who are you taking in this one?
I'm going to take Bachmeier. It looked like he did have more of the pace, but it looks like he maybe just got a little bit unlucky. But experience definitely helps here. He now has a little bit more time. He also has a little bit more experience, maybe a little bit easier on that throttle, check up the entry a little bit. But overall, I'm going to take Jordan on this. How about you?
You know, it's hard to say. They're both so equal in pace that it's going to be hard to pick. Driving against Jordan, I know how clinical he can be, but we've seen a few uncharacteristic mistakes from him. Same with Sweeney. Who's to say that it's going to be a driver on that front row, right? We could see Danny Cochran, Nagisa Yoshikawa, Brian Doe, Carson Sauters, Luke Powers. We saw We talked a little bit about him being a contender for this race. Can confirm Adam Kreppen back in session, but it will be a pit lane start for the driver who is scheduled to roll off 5th for him. So that is going to be a difficult 20 laps here at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta for him. But we are about set to go green for the final time tonight. This time, though, Reed Sweeney will be in control of the field coming down. He's going to wait a little bit longer than we saw in the pre-final. Green flag in the air this time for the final time tonight in this 20-lap main event as they're all going to pile into turn 1 metaphorically. Of course, hopefully we're going to keep it a bit cleaner than in the pre-final. Sweeney getting a good start thus far. He has Bachmeier behind. They're starting to gap Yoshikawa just a little bit, making their way through one. Lane Gibbs, one of the MPG Motorsports drivers, going a bit sideways there. Not the race he would have wanted on this early stage of things. Carson Sauter around. He had a really good starting spot, but he's around in the S's. But his liveried teammate out in front, Reed Sweeney, out in the lead as it stands. And Eli, if you want to walk us through anything you saw or particularly noticed on that lap, think about that. A lot cleaner than the pre-final.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot cleaner. Also probably smarter by Reed Sweeney there. He didn't let himself get a gap. He kind of kept everyone wait a little bit. He didn't necessarily go on green, but he didn't go right away. So it was a little bit mysterious, a little bit hard to judge. Definitely smart by him. A lot cleaner though to start there, especially through the S's. Everyone kind of knew what to expect. That makes it a lot easier by then.
Yeah, absolutely. Another driver who looks like didn't take the start, Timothy Carroll, with a really good finish. Don't see him on track, so that's unfortunate. One of the drivers we're obviously going to keep an eye on is Adam Kreppen, coming across the line for him. Kreppen in 15th at the moment, so it's going to be a last to first job for him. We'll keep an eye on him throughout the rest of the race, but as you see here, Reed Sweeney out in front, not having a ton of pressure from Bachmeier behind him. A lot of activity in the pit lane, though. Eli is some drivers having some front wing issues and replacing tires, whatnot. But we did see this a little bit at the start of the pre-final, right? The leader got a really good jump, but then the driver in second was able to reel him in slowly. So we're probably going to see that for Bachmeier, but battle for third and the podium, Cochran and Yoshikawa, that's going to be heating up in the next couple of laps. As Cochran, you're going to be able to barely see him in this shot. There he is, putting Yoshikawa under pressure. This is the battle for third and the battle for the podium. Both of these drivers unable to get anywhere near the top 3 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the opening round of the 2024 Route 66 Sim Championship. These guys, Eli, seem like they're going to be battling for the entirety of the race. They're just putting in such equal lap times, about half a tenth separating them last time. Yoshikawa and Cochran saw some decent pace, like we said, at IMS, but really taking Road Atlanta into their own. They look like they'll be battling for the rest of the race. But out in front, Reed Sweeney already having to deal with Joey Kazir, who's going to write this one off as his drop. The Hotes driver, development driver, down in 21st. Not a great points day for him, as Bachmeier was 8 tenths behind Sweeney last time across the line. He still remains at that 8-tenth margin. Both of those A-class drivers setting in 1:14 last time around, but Sweeney setting the purple time last time was a 14.4 for him and a 14.5 for Bachmeier. But Eli, like we were talking about, is we have a battle further back. That's Jacob Petticourt making his way past Ryan Doe. Joey Kazir also in there. He's one of the lap cars. Luke Powers on the Williams Racing machine behind Kazir is definitely going to be in it as well, but Petticourt's going to be put under pressure by Ryan Doe. Heading into turn 1, Petticourt's going to hold that P5 at the moment on that white Red Bull livery. As his battle all throughout the field, Eli, in these opening couple of laps. Should be interesting to see how this plays out for the next 16 or so laps.
Yeah, definitely will be. Always fun to watch these guys. Right now, the lead staying around that 8 to 9 tenths marker, but Nakasaka Geez, I butchered that really bad.
Yoshikawa.
Yoshikawa, sorry.
There you go.
And Danny Corcoran. Those will be fun to watch. Yeah, I'm sad to see that. I forgot the name. He was in the race with them last. Oh, I'm blanking hard now. He was racing with them in the final, in the pre-final though. They were fun to watch, but that'll be a good battle to watch all race long. As Jeremy Moe is now up in the 8th place, couple drivers in the further back there, so we might have some close races throughout the battle mid-pack.
You know, I was just looking at that Scooby-Doo livery that Jeremy Moe has on. A good run for him. More battling further back in the pack. That's Adam Kreppen making his way up through the field, getting past Shane Reddy. That lap that should move Kreppen up into 12th as he comes across the line this time, I believe, and has Pierce Sondrup in front of him at the moment. Nathan Trapp into the pits, though, just noticing that as we're cycling through cameras coming across the start-finish line. Not a great weekend for Nathan Trapp. Not having a good one at IMS either, so a bit of learning pains for iRacing and for him. But Eli, starting last for Adam Kreppen. We're not even halfway. We're a quarter of the way through this race. He's in 12th. You got to think that he's going to be able to get into, with a little bit of luck on his side and some misfortune for others, maybe well within that top 10, maybe 9th or 8th, we're thinking.
Yeah, it definitely seems possible. He has a ton of speed. He just has to make sure he keeps the tires on the car. Because if he doesn't, that'll not be good. He'll definitely be struggling for grip, and he might fall back even. But so far, been very impressive to watch. I don't know what happened to him, but that sucks, though. He would have had a very, very fast run here, and maybe even a run at the leaders.
Yeah, it's weird. It wasn't an internet error message that you usually see. It was just a straight disconnect. Has some potential to get past these two, but they're going to be feisty. Cade Yeager and Pierce Sondrup are battling it out. They have no idea. Adam Kreppen's behind them as Kreppen is going to get into 11th, and now Pierce Sondrup moving up and promoted into that top 10 position. So that's going to be a big improvement for him from last time at IMS, not having the day he would have wanted. But unfortunately for him, that top 10 is under threat from Adam Kreppen. Kreppen doing a 1 minute 14.8 last time. Pierce Sondrup a 1 minute 15.5. That just shows the pace difference between Kreppen and Sondrup at the moment. And Eli, you got to think Kreppen's going to be making his move sooner rather than later. Surely not in turn 6. That's a difficult one to get done. But you have to think with how close it is, we're going to see a move into 10A from Adam Kreppen on Pierce Sondrup. Heading down the back straightaway underneath the Motul Bridge. The draft really starting to kick in as Pierce Sondrup doing the hard work for Kreppen, pushing all of that heavy air in front of him, making the draft pass easy for Kreppen. Down the inside, top 10 for Kreppen. As one driver on the exit of the corner there. That was Jeremy Moe, who was running inside the top 10. He had a bit of a self-spin there. You can see him on screen. Looking back, we might see a replay of that in a little bit. We do. As he's coming through 10B, he just gets too eager on the power, doesn't he, Eli? And that's a mistake I think a lot of us have made. When you lose traction in these Formula 3 cars, it's not like an Indy car or kind of the GT3s in iRacing where you have a little bit of lean. When it goes, it goes.
Yeah, definitely. That was a tough break. We've all done that before. Make a little mistake, try to get back going, and you just spin those rear tires. Jeremy Moe definitely not going to be happy with himself, but he'll still have probably a good day out of this.
Yeah, Jeremy's one of the happier folks that we know in karting, so he'll probably he'll beat himself up on it a little bit, but surely he'll still be having a good time with it. Battle further up. This is Jacob Petticord, who is right behind Danny Cochran, who's right behind Nagisa Yoshikawa. That is the top 5 at the moment. Not a whole lot of battling happening at the front of the field. Jordan Bachmeier hasn't been able to make any inroads on Reed Sweeney out in front. I say that, though. Bachmeier does have the fastest lap of the race, but it's not by much. Looking on screen, though, Cochran really blowing that corner. That's going to allow Jacob Petticord, currently in 5th. He's going to want to make that 4th in a few corners' time. You have to think, Eli, that Danny Cochran may be losing the rear tires a little bit as Cochran pulling to the side, letting Petticord go. I believe if I'm not mistaken, Eli, and I think you might back me up on this, he did cut turn 3 and 4 a little bit, so I believe that's a slowdown penalty for Danny Cochran. And now 9/10 behind Jacob Petticourt, who was easily in front of just a couple of corners ago.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it might be a slowdown, and it definitely will be if he cuts too much. That is not a mistake we see very often, but it's a costly one for sure.
Yeah, looking at the replay, he does put all 4 tires to the left side of those curbs, so definitely what that was. Unfortunate for Danny Cochran. When Road Atlanta bites, it bites hard. It's a very difficult track. As we're watching the battle, this is between teammates, Ryan Doe and Danny Cochran. As Ryan wasn't really able to see the rear wing of Danny Cochran just a couple of laps ago, but like we said, just one lap ago, and that mistake from Cochran. Doe looking at that top 5 finish potentially for him. Looking further up the pack, though, Nagisa Yoshikawa in 3rd, having to deal with some lap traffic. More battling going on between Shane Reddy and Cade Yeager. These two, Eli, battled it out in real life in 206 Junior, especially at Dousman. Cade Yeager has been at this national scene racing for a while. For him, he's one of the best, if not the best, in terms of 206 racing in the junior category. He won the championship for 206 Junior with us last season. He was very competitive in KA Junior. Shane Reddy was the driver that took a lot of us by storm. You raced with him last season at Stockholm and Minnesota. You know how quick he is, but we were really taken by surprise with how competitive he was, racing for wins and for podiums at the latter half of the season. And now he finds his old sparring partner from 2023, Cade Yeager. Both of these guys are within the top 10, but hopefully for a while as Shane Reddy puts the wing to Cade Yeager there. A little bit of contact. They're going to go side by side into turn 1. Cade Yeager is going to shut him down just a little bit. Say, no, sir, this is my position as it stands. Both of them outside the top 10, as things stand, as they head down the S. There's this beautiful camera shot. They make their way out the S's. Now this is a battle further back, No, this is Shane Reddy and Cade Yeager. Got a little bit ahead of myself there. Eli, you haven't seen a lot of how Cade Yeager races. I can tell you he's one of the best when it comes to 4-cycle racing in the junior category. You know how good Shane is. It's early days. We're halfway through this race, but if they continue to battle like this, who would you be taking in this battle?
I'd say I take Shane on boldness. I think he'd probably want to send it on that last lap. I raced with him personally, and I know that he's excited. He loves to make those passes. So I say he'll probably pull one out, as right now he goes to the inside here as they go down towards turn A and C, as he actually gets that move done going through turn A, or 10A, and he is still ahead as they come down the hill. Very impressive move there by Shane.
It's kind of hard to get those corners right. It would be a lot easier if it was just 10 and 11, but I'm going to get off my soapbox there. Cade Yeager not letting Shane Reddy get too far ahead. Those two are just separated by a couple of tenths of a second. As it stands, their fastest laps are fairly similar, just a tenth of a second. No, excuse me. Pierre Sondrup in 15.3 is his fastest lap. 4 tenths quicker than Shane Reddy, but just unable to get past Shane Reddy at the moment. Joey Kazier is the driver behind them as we switch to a battle further up. I believe this would be Adam Kreppen, who's making his way up the field. P8 for Adam Kreppen. That is just seriously impressive for him. He has Austin Fairfield behind in 9th, Pierre Sondrup in 10th, but Eli, it's kind of been the story of this race. Adam Kreppen starting from the pit lane after a weird disconnect for him at the start of this race, working his way up to 8th. That is some damage limitation, to say the least, from the 437. We have some contact further behind. That's Pierre Sondrup and Austin Fairfield, I think, getting into it. As hopefully we'll see a replay of that. The MPG Motorsports driver of Austin Fairfield and Pierre Sondrup, we are going to see as they go into 10A. Looking at it, at least from my angle, yeah, almost have to put that on Fairfield. Just didn't give the room to Pierre Sondrup, as Sondrup was there. It was a bit early of a turn in for Fairfield, but just unfortunate it happens in racing, and especially happens in that corner. But out in front, the lead continues to grow for Reed Sweeney. It is 1.6 seconds to Jordan Bachmeier behind, and Nagisa Yoshikawa 7.4 seconds back, as the beast that is Road Atlanta has really started to bite these drivers who maybe don't feel as comfortable in the car and not able to push as much as Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I said it earlier on in the show. We couldn't have had two more different tracks to start off this calendar, right? Indy being a fairly slick surface. It's flat, very wide. You're able to use a lot of the curves here. A lot of undulation. It's very quick. Not a ton of technical corners. It's just really challenging these drivers, hasn't it, Eli? And we're seeing that, but Reed Sweeney and Jordan Bachmeier have rose to the occasion. They've stayed up front, where in the podium fight in the midfield, we've seen some shuffling throughout the grid.
It's definitely been a very interesting race to watch so far. A lot of battles, smaller battles in the back of the pack. But yeah, been very interesting to see, as Shane Reddy actually is in the pits now, it shows. So hopefully everything's all right over there. But yeah, a lot of interesting battles, a lot of fun ones to watch. The lead hasn't been as interesting as we thought it was going to be, but so far been a pretty good race in this tough racetrack.
Yeah, Reed Sweeney and Jordan Bachmeier, two of the closest drivers on track at the moment, trying to see what happened to Shane Reddy, as him and Cade Yeager were battling it out. It looks like a lap car of Joey Kazier got into the back of them, so unfortunate for Shane. And for his race, he was doing fairly well. As Reed Sweeney, Eli, not a whole lot to say about him other than just praise. For he was a driver that you and I didn't know a ton about going into Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He certainly impressed. There is a bit of a mistake from Sweeney, I think, going over the curb, but looking further back in the pack, the story of this race has been Adam Kreppen. He's closing in on P7, who is Luke Powers. I was thinking Adam would get about to 9th, maybe 8th, but really, really impressive stuff for him. Is one car around. That's Ryan Dow, who was in 6th, and that's going to be another position now for Adam Kreppen. So that should be him up into 7th, and now closing in, as you can see there, it's so easy to get the car sideways there. It's one of those things that anyone who's driven at Road Atlanta, you've definitely done it there. Turn 5 is such a difficult corner on the entry, mid-corner, and exit. Shows its own challenges throughout that corner. It evolves throughout it. But Eli, we said it before, Adam Kreppen is seriously impressed. I did not think he would be battling for 6th and almost a top 5. Danny Cochran's just too far in front, as we have about 5 laps to go in this race. 6 laps to go, excuse me. But Adam Kreppen, what a race it's been for him so far.
Yeah, it's been very impressive to watch so far. Don't know what happened, as you said earlier, but overall, this has been fun to watch. We're making moves here and there, but overall, some people's mistakes have definitely helped him. But like you said, just been impressive to watch. Really fun, too. Very good driver overall, so it'll be fun to see if he can get any wins later in the season.
And like you said, very clinical driver at that in the kart and in the sim. He's one of the more consistent drivers. You get a little bored watching him in real life, not just because he dominates so much, but just because he puts the kart in the exact same spot lap after lap after lap, even if it's changing conditions. He's just so consistent, and that consistency is paying off. A battle for 6th at the moment. Luke Powers looking left and right, trying to break that draft that is so strong down this back straight at Road Atlanta, but Adam Kreppen is closing. Excuse me, they're into 10B, 10A and 10B. And Adam Kreppen just not close enough. Using a lot more of the curb there in 10A and almost dropping a tire into the dirt does Adam Kreppen. He just seems to use more and more of that track than Luke Powers and really any other driver, Eli. And I think you can attest to it. The Formula 3 car is it's very used in iRacing. It's a very beloved car by the iRacing and the open wheel community, but it's one thing to get this car to 95%. It's you can hold it there pretty easily, but getting that 95 to 100 is a very, very difficult task.
Indeed, as I hate to break your point, but Jordan Bachmeier has wrecked. He wrecked out
Did
from
he?
second going through the S's. Yeah, he got a little too... Oh, he wrecked over the curbs over turn 3 and 4 and ended his race.
Oh, that's one of those mistakes that a lot of us make. Just, yeah, he used too much of the curb in turn 2. That's unfortunate for him. You know what that means, Eli? Who gets promoted up another spot?
Adam Kreppen.
Adam Kreppen moves up another spot. Adam Kreppen might be in the top 5 here, as Yoshikawa, I believe now, will come across the line. It's second for Yoshikawa, and it's going to be third for Jacob Petticord after that. What can we say? Uncharacteristic mistake from Jordan Bachmeyer, as the battle now to watch on track is going to be the battle for 5th between Luke Powers, and it's so weird to say this after the start of this race. Adam Kreppen finds himself in 6th at the moment. Last time by, it was a 15.3 for Luke Powers. It's a 15.6 for Adam Kreppen. It's about 0.5 of a second at the moment between the two of them. No real pressure from behind for Adam Kreppen. He can just lock his focus onto the rear wing of that Williams liveried Formula 3 car that Luke Powers is driving at the moment. You have to think Adam Kreppen's going to be making his move as we're about to hit 3 to go. Next time across the stripe for these drivers. Eli, he's been quick so far. He's been super consistent. Can Adam Kreppen really get a top 5 after starting last from the pit lane?
I don't see why not. So far, like you said, so impressive to watch. As when they come across the line, he'll only have 3 laps to do it, but if he can just put together a lap and be really consistent, he'll easily have a top 5 out of this. That's super impressive.
It's very impressive, but you have to say Luke Powers is one of the more impressive drivers in the junior and senior karting scene. He's making senior full season start, or first full season of senior. Sadly, sells these shorts, this season for Luke Powers is him and Eli Warren, obviously great friends between them, but Adam Kreppen really starting to close that in. Adam Kreppen around in turn 5. No for Adam Kreppen. He was so consistent. However, the closest car behind is quite a ways back, so Adam Kreppen's going to be able to hold on to 6th there. That's unfortunate, Eli, for him. It's, again, turn 5 strikes again. This time, I think he just used too much curb. So you can see here, it's the curb in turn 5 that really gets him, as looking on board. I believe that's with Cade Yeager, that is. He currently finds himself in 8th, who I believe lost a little bit of time to Jeremy Moe, because Jeremy Moe was listed 9th last time across the stripe. He's now in front of Cade Yeager, so Yeager had some sort of mistake last time by, but Eli, how unfortunate is that for Adam Kreppen? As may have lost Eli a little bit there, internet connection issues and all. Just going to work that out from our end. Battle on track as we just there. Okay, we're going to see a replay here of what happened to Cade Yeager and just losing the car a little bit on the entry of turn 3 and just overheating the tires. Hard to get those tires to stick to the track once you make that little mistake. So unfortunate for Yeager. He was battling with Shane Reddy. Both of those drivers not having the race they would have wanted. Shane Reddy's back out on track, but he currently finds himself in 16th at the moment. But looking at this battle between Jacob Petticord and Nagisa Yoshikawa, Petticord has closed up that gap, and this is going to be the battle for second as they will make their way on to the final lap. Sweeney is far and away, he's out of this. He just needs one more clean circuit to try and take this, but Yoshikawa is going to have a driver who really wants that second place spot in the form of Jacob Petticord in that white Red Bull livery you can see behind him. This is the key moment, the key couple of corners to try and get through this final lap. Yoshikawa able to manage to get his way through the S's. Fine, doesn't overdo it, but he has Petticord right on the back end of him. It's going to be a battle to the line and a battle down the back straight. This is going to get interesting. Goes defensive, does Yoshikawa into 7. He's going to have to be very, very smart on how he wants to defend. The stewards will be looking at double moves or any unfair play, as we're going to keep the cameras on this as Yoshikawa holding off Petticord, but for how long? As he's going to go to the inside. He's going to hold off Petticord side by side on the final couple of corners. Yoshikawa is going to take it. Reed Sweeney, as these two are battling, takes the win out in front, but continuing to look at this battle for a second, Yoshikawa is going to take P2 for the final, as Jacob Petticord, after starting 11th this race, finishes 3rd. Danny Cochran 4th, and Luke Powers rounding out the top 5, and then Adam Kreppen just outside the top 5. What a run it was for him. He was due to start 5th, had that disconnect, had a bit of a spin, finishes 6th. But Reed Sweeney, what a race for him, and surely this is going to put him to the top of the point standings before we adjust them for drops in a couple of race time. What a run for him. Is gonna see if Eli is back. Eli, oh, very, very good run for Reed Sweeney. What can you take away from that?
Overall, very impressive tonight, but as we can see, this car can buy anyone at any time. He was leading comfortably, in a good groove there, just a little bit over the line, and he spun out. Same with Jordan Bachmeyer, was just pushing, and he was gaining though. He went from about 2 seconds down to about a second, and he sadly lost it. So tough break on a lot of these guys, but overall it was a fun race to watch. A lot of good battles, and sadly Adam Kreppen was not able to make his way back up in the top 5. That would have been an awesome story for tonight.
Reed Sweeney going to try and burn her down here on the front straight. It's a little bit of a tight front straightaway. It makes it a bit hard. In the Formula 3, it's kind of hard to break traction and do donuts, but there you go. Gets it going. He's going to deserve that after a very, very strong day in the office for Reed Sweeney. He's going to be hoping to carry that momentum into the second half of the season. It's weird to say that. We're halfway done with this Sim series, as once we get done with the season, it's only going to be a couple weeks until Newcastle Motorsports Park and the karting side of things gets kicked off. I don't think we're going to have interviews, as I still don't know what Reed Sweeney's Discord handle is, so we're not going to be able to grab him, but we'll definitely try and grab him at Daytona for that. Going to look at the final standings for the feature, the 20-lap event that awarded Reed Sweeney 200 points and the championship lead. As you can see there, Reed Sweeney, Yoshikawa, Petticord, Cochran, and Luke Powers is your top 5. Then Adam Kreppen, Ryan Doe, Jerry Moe, Cade Yeager, and Quentin McPherson making up your top 10. And you can read the rest of your favorite drivers there throughout the field. It was a race of attrition, Eli, wasn't it? Of Jordan Bachmeyer, who had a mistake, disconnected, reconnected at one point, still finished in 14th for Bachmeyer. It's not the race he would have wanted, so you can read through the rest of the list there, but ultimately it's going to be an uphill battle for Bachmeyer at Daytona and Road America.
Yes, it definitely will be. Very chaotic race. We thought it was going to go pretty smoothly, but overall it just became a little bit chaotic here.
Yeah, so that will be it for us here at the virtual Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Next race on the calendar for us will be at Daytona International Speedway on the High Banks. That's going to be in late March, on Thursday, March 28th. So be sure to tune in to that. If you are a karter in North America and you want to get in on the action, join our Discord server. You can find that on our social media, or head to our website at Route 66, I believe it's kartracing.com, to sign up for that. If you like what you saw and like what Grid Vision does on the broadcast side of things, they are very busy in the sim racing world at the moment and have a lot of broadcasts going on. So be sure to subscribe to them, leave a like, comment what you thought about the broadcast. It's a pleasure to be working with Taylor, who works with Grid Vision, works in the real world with Kart Chaser, very talented from his side of things. Eli, thank you so much for joining me again. You have any closing thoughts at the end of this race as we head into Daytona in late March?
Well, as we know, draft is big, so Daytona will definitely be even more chaotic.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Might have to see some rules that you see in the Mazda MX-5 Cup races about prolonged drafting. But that will make our race director Creighton Carter's job a little bit more difficult for that. So I'm going to publicly apologize for that. But on behalf of us, again, if you could do us a huge favor and do Grid Vision a huge favor, go subscribe to them. It really helps us out and really shows and we appreciate that. But for us, for the second round of the Route 66 Sprint Series, the 2024 version here at Road Atlanta, we want to thank you for tuning in and spending your night with us. From myself, Nate Taylor, and Creighton in the booth from the Broadcasting Center, we're going to say bye for now, and we'll see you in Daytona.